I never imagined that saving a drowning man would lead to a life-changing search for love. I can still feel the icy water wrapping around me, pulling me down. My heart raced as I stumbled into the surf, the wave crashing against my legs. I had never been a strong swimmer. The ocean roared like a beast unleashed, but I couldn't just stand there. Something deep inside urged me forward. I will never forget the screams. They cut through the chaos like a knife. Help! Someone help! A man's desperate cries echoed, pulling me closer to the danger. Each stroke felt like a fight against the currents, my lungs burning. I could see Hema figure thrashing in the water, arms flailing as panic took hold that I reached him just as he began to slip beneath the surface. My hands gripped his shoulder, yanking him up. His wide, terrified eyes met mine, wild and pleading. He was more than just a stranger. He was a reflection of my own fears. The taste of salt water filled my mouth as I heaved him toward the shore. Together we splashed through the shallow surf. I dragged him, my own body trembling, adrenaline coursing through my veins. The moment we collapsed on the sand, gasping for breath, I felt a weight lift. But it was soon replaced with another feeling. Confusion, gratefulness, and something unexplainable. His eyes, dark and stormy, held mine with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. I stared back, questions swirling in my mind. But I couldn't focus on that. Around us, the crowd began to gather. Faces blurred together, concern, shock, and whispers of disbelief. How could it be? I had saved a man from drowning, yet I felt as if I had just entered a different world. As paramedics arrived, they rushed him away, the sound of sirens amplifying the surreal air around us. I stood there, my heart still pounding, feeling strangely empty. I had fought a literal battle, but the emotional battle was just beginning. Who was this man? Why did I feel this pull toward him? Each second felt weighted with uncertainty. I turned to leave, but something stopped me. I had to know. Where would this journey take me? What secrets lingered beneath the surface of that dramatic rescue? My life was about to change, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I had crossed a line I couldn't uncross. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The days that followed felt like a tapestry spun from confusion and longing. I found myself returning to that beach, drawn back by a gravitational pull I didn't understand. Each wave echoed with the memory of his desperate struggle, and I felt as if the very ocean itself was a reminder of the connection forged between USA. Connection I couldn't shake. No matter how hard I tried, work lost its meaning. My co-workers noticed my distracted gaze and whispered in the break room, concern etching their brows. I offered weak smiles, my mind a constant echo of his eyes. I barely mustered the courage to ask if anyone knew him. They continuously reminded me to move on, to let it go. But with each passing moment, I wasn't simply recalling a stranger in peril. I was haunted by the idea of what might have been. Then, on a Tuesday at dusk, a flicker of hope arrived unexpectedly. A bright orange flyer fluttered in the breeze outside a small cafe, advertising a community group dedicated to ocean safety and recovery. Nearby residents were encouraged to come and share their experiences. Without thinking, I stepped inside, apprehensive yet determined. The cafe buzzed with chatter as I nestled into a corner, my heart rhythm pounding like the surf on the shore. There were stories of bravery, loss, and small miracles. I listened intently, gathering pieces of shared pain that resonated in my chest. But as the group discussion wandered from topic to topic, I felt an overwhelming urge to break my silence. I saved someone from drowning last week. I finally blurted out, my voice trembling beneath the weight of vulnerability. Eyes turned to me, the atmosphere shifting with collective interest. I don't know anything about him, but it feels like there's more to this. Like he has a story I need to uncover. Their encouragement was immediate. You did an incredible thing, an older gentleman said, his voice warm. Sometimes the process of healing starts with understanding. But my heart still ached, tethered to a man whose name I didn't know. I left the cafe that night with a card for the Ocean Recovery Group, along with a glimmer of hope. Perhaps this search would lead to something real. The next day, I received a message unexpectedly. While drinking my coffee, I picked up my phone to find a notification. A photo of the very man I had saved flashed on my screen, his face, still wet with the seawater that had threatened to drown him, yet lit up by a grateful smile. The caption read, "Thank you for saving me." It was from a social media account I didn't recognize. My heart raced. I could feel my pulse in my throat as I typed a hasty reply. "I'm just glad you're okay. I need to know how you're doing." Hours passed. Just as hope began to wilt, my phone buzzed again. The response came quick and sincere. "I've been trying to find you too. Can we meet?" Yes, a spark surged within me. I finally had a chance to bridge the unseen gulf between us, to confront the unspoken connection I felt after that day. It was reckless, this leap into the unknown, yet bravery often lived in chaos. We made plans to meet on the same beach, the very place I had fought the ocean for him. As I prepared for our meeting, nerves twisted in my stomach. Would he remember our gaze? His expression of fear, of gratitude? As I stepped onto the sandy shore, the sun casting golden rays over the waves, I felt a mix of excitement and dread. Then the moment came. I saw him standing with his back to me, silhouetted against the horizon. His frame was solid yet fragile, a lighthouse trying to anchor in turbulent waters. But as he turned to see me, the serenity in his dark eyes morphed into something almost feral, a blend of recognition and confusion. I stepped forward, heart pounding in my chest. "Hey," I said, forcing a smile as I took a shaky breath. "I'm glad you're okay." He approached cautiously, and as we exchanged words, fragments of our souls bridged the distance, flooding the space with an undeniable energy. Just then, I noticed something on his arm, a tattoo peeking from his sleeve, an emblem that seemed oddly familiar. "What does it mean?" I asked, pointing to the ink that marked his skin. His gaze shifted downward, the color draining from his face as if I had struck a nerve. It's a reminder," he murmured, hesitating as if weighing the gravity of his words. Before he could elaborate, a sudden commotion erupted behind us, a group of beachgoers at the water's edge, shouting. A child had wandered too far into the surf, waves crashing over his small frame. Panic surged through me as the memories of that day resurfaced like tidal waves, and just before I could react, he sprinted toward the scene, determination igniting in his stride, leaving me standing stunned on the shore. My heart raced, but it was not for the child in distress. A whisper of fear crept into my thoughts. Had I unknowingly tethered him to a destiny he would drown in? The realization struck like a bolt of lightning. I was searching for something precious, yet mingled with its beauty was a haunting uncertainty. Was I meant to save him, or would he save me? The chaos at the water's edge unfolded in slow motion. Cries pierced the air like shards of glass, each desperate shout a reminder of what could slip through our fingers in an instant. My feet felt anchored to the sand, the weight of my own fear blending with the tumultuous ocean before me. He vanished into the waves, his silhouette swallowed by frothing surf, an unflinching guardian racing toward peril. I stood there, neck hot, heart pounding, imagining all the potential futures that hung in the balance at that very moment. The chaos seemed to envelop everything. The world shrank down to just the piercing cries, the foamy ocean, and the figure I had just begun to understand, now braving the depths that had almost claimed him. Moments later, through the swarm of panic, I spotted him again, grappling with the boy only a few feet from where the waters darkened ominously. When I finally broke free from my paralysis, I dashed toward the shoreline, instinct overtaking every rational thought. I couldn't just stand there. "There he is," I heard someone shout, urgency igniting in their voice. I wasn't alone in my worry. Others were rushing in as I neared the water, My heart synced with each wave crashing around me, and adrenaline propelled me forward. The tides churned, relentless and unforgiving. Each step into the water felt like a plea to the depths not to claim anyone else today. Then, just as I reached them, I caught a glimpse of the boy's small body bobbing helplessly in the surf. My heart lurched. This was happening again. Memories of our first encounter flooded back. Fear in those deep, dark eyes, the assurance that there was someone willing to fight for him. He surfaced, gasping, and with a fervent strength born from desperation. My heartbeat echoed in my ears. A group had gathered now, encircling them, some shouting instructions. "Just keep him steady. I'm coming," I shouted, my own voice firm, taking charge as if the fear of helplessness had shaped me into a warrior. I plunged deeper, the water crashing over me, blinding and cold. Through the haze of flailing limbs and panicked breaths, I spotted Himi Savior, the man whose life I had wanted to learn about, now fully engulfed in a struggle. How could our story intertwine in such hurried grief? He locked eyes with me over the splashes. A spark of relief nestled among the chaos. I reached out, gaining footing alongside him. Together, we anchored ourselves. The dynamic shifted. Strength mingled with fear, resolve blending with the deep-seated anxiety of meeting again under such grave circumstances. "Get the boy," I urged him, my voice steady against the storm, with purpose in his eyes. He dove beneath the surface, muscles coiling beneath the tension. I braced myself against the waves, absorbing every ounce of my own scattered energy, channeling it into helping him. Seconds turned to a lifetime, and I could feel the weight of hope and terror merging. My pulse racing as the urgency morphed into one shared breath. My focus strained against the roar of the ocean, sharply contrasting the harmonious rhythm we had found in our prior exchange. Then he emerged, the boy gripped tightly in his arms, a look of sheer determination beaming down at me as he propelled them both toward the shoreline. The crowd erupted in cheers as they reached solid ground, each second stretching out, yet moving toward a necessary conclusion. As others rushed in to assist, I scrambled to join them, but a sudden swell knocked me back, nearly overcoming me. Maybe my past fear still lingered close, a beast lurking beneath my bravado. But that thought vanished in an instant as I saw him, arms now encircling the small child, collapsing back on the sand as the crowd surged with applause. "Is he okay?" I gasped between breaths, desperation clawing at my throat. My eyes darted from the boy to my savior, searching for assurance in the aftermath. That he looked at me, then back to the boy, his brow furrowed in concentration. "He's breathing. We need to get him help." The realization shattered something within me. It struck hard, our connection rippling like the aftershocks of a tide-receding wave. We had found each other in the darkness, two souls adrift, yet fate continued to weave us together in circumstances so thick with urgency and fear. The child coughed, sputtering out seawater, and the crowd seemed to come alive again, a kaleidoscope of people bustling to provide care. Yet my gaze, tethered to him, felt weighted by something I couldn't yet grasp. As relief washed over us, he turned to me, that fierce light still glinting in his eyes. "Thank you?" His voice trembled over the pounding surf, wonderment glimmering between us. This moment, it echoed with possibility, yet the shadows of uncertainty lingered, a chasm of unsaid questions looming just beneath the surface. Would he remember me only as the girl who put herself at risk, or as something deeper formed between us? But then, from behind us, amid the frantic calls of parents and rescue teams, a familiar voice emerged, a voice I had never thought I would hear here, now of all places. "What are you doing here?" It pierced through the tension like a knife. The waves fell silent, the crowd turning just as I whirled to face the intruder, my heart plummeting at the sight. It was my brother, his eyes wide with shock and purpose, stepping forward like a dark omen into the light. What was he doing here? In that dizzying moment, the ground beneath me felt unsteady. Just as my world began to clarify, a crack of grief split the air, threatening to unravel the fragile thread of hope that had just formed. All at once, everything I thought I had unfurled before me collided with an entirely new reality. Why are you involved with this? He demanded, his voice cold, slicing through the warmth that had begun to bloom. And I stood frozen, caught between two lifelines, one I might forge with him and the tether to my brother's unyielding fears. My heart raced as I tried to reconcile the paths that lay before me, unsure which way to turn in the darkness. As the familiar tension in my brother's voice mounted, a shiver of dread washed over me, chasing away whatever remnants of relief I had momentarily clung to. He strode closer, a storm brewing in his expression, the churning waves at my back mirroring the chaos of feelings swirling within me. Why are you involved with this? He repeated, his tone sharp, accusing almost. A part of me wanted to scream at him, to see beyond the surface, to understand that I was not just a girl coaxed by reckless impulses into a throng of strangers. This was not about defiance or seeking approval. It was about human connection and the vibrant spark I sensed between the man who had saved the boy and me. I hesitated, grappling with my thoughts as worry for the boy flickered in the backdrop, a poignant reminder of the stakes at hand. But all I could focus on was my brother's glare, cold and searching, as if he was trying to undo me piece by piece. My savior rose slowly from where he had knelt, water dripping from his strong frame, eyes still focused on the boy. He needs medical attention, he said, his voice steady, with an undertone of urgency that made my heart swell. I could see the kindness etched in his brow, a quiet strength radiating from him. Yeah, and you need to stay out of this. My brother's words were an anchor, dragging me down into a tide of confusion. He was fierce and protective, but at that moment, he felt like a barrier keeping me from understanding the possibilities unfolding before me. I saved him, I said defiantly, the words tumbling out on the current of adrenaline still coursing through my veins. We saved him. Saved him? There was disbelief in my brother's tone, like he was casting doubt on what I felt ignite between us, between the hero and the girl who had dared to reach out. What good is that if you put yourself in danger? You can't keep doing this, putting yourself in harm's way. That I felt something tighten in my chest, a familiar blend of rebellion and hurt. I needed to. He was drowning. The air felt electric, charged with unspoken emotions and the weight of family expectations resting on my shoulders. In that moment, the boy coughed again, drawing our collective focus back to him. Two paramedics rushed toward us, their presence an oasis amidst the turmoil. They knelt beside the small child and began assessing him. I felt a flicker of hope. He looked frightened but alive. My brother turned his eyes toward the child, and for just a moment, the edge of his anger softened. Yet, doubt lingered there, remnants of a protection that had held me close through my life. And what if something happened to you? What if you hadn't made it back? Destiny can't be held hostage by fear. I felt bold as I replied, though a part of me quivered beneath the weight of my brother's intensity. Destiny? Is this what you call it? Following some stranger into a storm? His rasp echoed the worry that had been building since our childhood, always wanting to shield me, always caught in the dance of caring and controlling. That I am not a child anymore, I countered, my voice thick with emotion, the wave of independence crashing against the shores of his protectiveness. I want to be a part of this world. And I pointed toward the rescuer, whose strength radiated even now as he knelt with the boy. He's part of that world. He saved a life. That I watched the heat of my words settle between us, a chasm impossible to ignore. Just then, the boy looked up at my savior with wide, grateful eyes. A smile slowly formed on his lips, dissolving the remnants of anxiety that had held sway moments before. Thank you, he squeaked, and the pure sound seemed to echo in my heart. For that fleeting instant, the world around us paused. My brother stood silent, the boy's eyes brightening with innocent faith, the rescuer's buzzing with urgency, and me caught in an emotional whirlpool. Perhaps this was the essence of life, a blend of hope, chaos, and moments of profound connection. Don't you see? I spoke softer this time, glancing at the man who had become an anchor in a storm I didn't fully comprehend. There's something here, it's bigger than all this. But the moment didn't settle. My brother's eyes cut through to the truth cloaked beneath my bravado, peeling back layers I had just begun to understand. Love doesn't come without cost, you know that more than anyone. I swallowed hard. The tides had shifted, and somewhere deep inside, I sensed that he was right. Love, once freely given, could easily turn into a cruel currency when mixed with fear and desperation. Still, as I found my gaze drifting back to the man tending to the child, something larger than myself stirred a connection that felt immeasurable, binding yet uncertain. Suddenly, the boy's coughing ceased, and he looked fearfully at the gathering crowd. The paramedics assured him everything would be all right, but fear clung heavily in the air. And then, as I caught my breath, something caught my attention, a small object bobbing in the waves nearby, shimmering dull against the roar of the ocean. "Hey," I called, pointing toward it. "What is that?" My brother and the paramedics turned with me, but before anyone could speak, the only thing that last echoed in the air was a chilling sound of recognition. My heart raced as I realized what it was, a deep-sea pendant, glinting against the dark backdrop of the ocean, a hand-carved likeness of a soaring bird, just like the one he had once shown me in the warmth of a quiet moment. Instinctively, I took a step forward, the waves crashing around my feet, the shoreline feeling impossibly close yet miles away. My brother's warning flickered in my mind, but the connection of this singular moment choked me with urgency. I had to know more. This was my chance to forge the thread tying fear to hope, a lifeline pulling me from the waters I felt I was continually drowning in. And just then, as I took that fateful step to reclaim the object, I felt a grounding force at my side, the water's current pressing against my skin. The last look I threw toward my brother was tentative yet defiant. "We can't let fear control us." "Not anymore," I uttered, grounding myself in that glimmer of resolve before everything surged again. Before either of us could respond, the ocean roared anew, and everything around me tumbled brilliantly with uncertainty. Just like that, I felt pulled under once more, caught in the swell of what I had yet to confront, me heart aching for what might come. As I lunged toward the water, drawn by the pendant glistening under the moonlight, my brother's hand shot out to grab my wrist. "What are you doing?" His voice was a low hiss, filled with panic, but the urgency of anticipation bubbled within me like a storm ready to break free. "I have to get it," I shouted back defiantly, just as the waves crashed more violently against the shore. "As a sign." The words flowed out of me, desperate, almost pleading, as if I had suddenly found a thread to pull from the tangled web of emotions trapping me. With a quick yank, my brother pulled me back, his grip vice-like, eyes wide with worry. "It's too dangerous. You don't know what else is out there." His voice trembled with an energy laced with fear, as if he could still sense the undercurrents waiting to pull me under. But beneath that fear lay something else, a flicker of understanding perhaps. He didn't want to lose Menet like he had lost others before. Yet within me raged the fierce desire to break free from the shadows of his fears. The pendant echoed our shared past, a piece of something I had long since tucked away, a memory of warmth, freedom, and connection with a life that felt just out of reach. I jerked my arm free, the water lapping around my calves like an impatient child. "Just trust me," I called back over my shoulder, as I stepped deeper, feeling the chill wrap around my legs like a lover's embrace, both shocking and pressing. The moment I plunged into the waves, the world transformed. Darkness enfolded me, broken only by the dim light of the moon above filtering through the water. My heart raced, each beat a drum echoing louder in the stillness. Here, I was weightless, me fears, my brother's protective barrier, all floating away on the tides. Glimmers of silver danced just ahead, and I stretched my hand out toward the pendant, feeling its coolness brush against my fingertips. As I grasped it, an exhilarating rush surged through me, a sense of triumph that brought a smile to my lips against my own drowning anxiety. I emerged from the waves, gasping for breath, the pendant clutched tight in my palm. Above me, the shoreline was a vivid blur, and as I blinked away the stinging saltwater, I caught sight of my brother standing there, frozen between anger and relief. His expression flickered, unsure whether to be angry about my recklessness or thankful that I was safe. "Do you even realize how reckless that was?" he spat, strands of his hair flying wildly in the wind, a storm brewing just behind his eyes. But in the depths of his glare, a softness lingered, A small realization that let hope break through the tension, maybe just a sliver, but enough to connect with. I had to, Jacob, I said, holding the pendant up for him to see. The bird soaring high in the night's embrace. This means something. I stepped closer, water cascading down my legs, the coolness grounding me even as my heart soared. We can't keep holding on to fear. Look at what's before us, Luke, at the possibilities. He stepped back, arms crossed tightly over his chest, the ripple of conflict resounding between us. You think a trinket is going to change anything? What if it leads you back to that man? You put yourself at risk for someone you barely know. My heart sank as his words resonated with a reality I'd been trying to fight off. I wasn't just chasing hope. I was chasing a chance to fill a void that had haunted me for too long. Maybe you're right. But if there's even a chance that this will lead to something worth pursuing, don't you think I have to at least try? I offered, my voice trembling with a mixture of determination and vulnerability. Those last words hung in the air, bringing an unexpected silence. In that moment, I saw the struggle playing across my brother's face. He was grappling with the burden of his own fears, memories etched in painful ink, swallowing hard as he fought against the protective instinct that had formed the very core of who he was. Suddenly, the paramedics finished with the boy, who was now sitting up, eyes brimming with curiosity and understanding. He looked back at me, and the grateful smile he wore ignited something deep within, an affirmation that I was making the right choice. "Hey, are you friends with that guy?" he stammered, nominating the savior who still kneeled nearby, soaking wet yet radiating strength. His question cut through my thoughts like sunlight piercing the darkness. "He's really cool. He saved my life." As I nodded, my heart fluttered with a mix of pride and uncertainty. "Yes, he did. And he's going to be okay," I replied, swallowing the rush of emotions galloping within me. The boy's innocent faith bolstered my own, igniting the flame flickering in the pit of my stomach. "I want to be like him," the boy continued, his voice steady despite the remnants of fear still gripping him, the sparkle in his eyes unyielding against past worries. Brave and stuff. That innocent confession hit me hard, reverberating all the way to my core. Who was I to bring my fears into this brave new world? A flicker of something new emerged in me, an urge to protect not just myself but others. Maybe my journey wasn't solely about chasing dreams cloaked in shadows. Maybe it was about allowing courage to illuminate the path, to guide us through the thickest fogs. As I took a breath, the weight of my brother's gaze felt softer now, the currents swaying between us beginning to represent not discord but the possibility of shared growth. For the first time, I saw a place for us beyond fear, an avenue where we could stand together rather than apart. But just then, a sharp sound from the ocean snapped my attention. The water surged once more and, for the briefest of moments, I thought I glimpsed another movement beneath the surface, an unexpected twist. I squinted into the darkness, heart racing anew, as if the ocean itself was echoing my own tumultuous thoughts. "Wait, did you see that?" My voice rose with uncertainty as something brighter flickered below, a shadowy figure moving with purpose. But before anyone could respond, the water erupted around us, spraying droplets thick with dread. My heart raced as I realized the shadows were not merely remnants of my imagination. They were tantalizing hints of an impending revelation that remained just out of reach, much like myself. The waves roared as the figure breached the surface, an intricate dance of light and water merging in a dazzling flash. Instinctively, I stepped back as dread and excitement twisted into a knot of anticipation. What awaited us hidden in the depths? The pull of hope was undeniable, but the weight of fear simmered, pressing at my ribs. Everything around me felt uncertain, and I could feel my brother's presence amid chaos, a tether keeping me grounded and yet straining under the weight of looming revelations. In a world where courage battled heaviness, I breathed in deeply, preparing to confront whatever hidden truth had lain just beneath. As the figure rose closer, I felt a shift in the air, a disruptive flutter that whispered of secrets waiting to unfurl. I gazed into the unpredictable depths, heart pounding, unaware that what would emerge could change not only my understanding of love, but disrupt the very fabric of our lives, both intertwined and solitary. The waves crashed over the shore in relentless rhythm, mirroring the tumult boiling within me. The figure that had just surfaced was a man, gasping for breath, water cascading down his strong, muscular frame. Confusion and urgency swirled through my veins, igniting a spark of curiosity tinged with apprehension. The pendant still dangled from my hand, its cool metal contrasting sharply with the warmth of new possibilities stirring inside me. "Jacob, help him!" I cried, voice rising above the cacophony of waves and my brother's stunned silence. Caught in the lies of fear, I surged forward instinctively toward the stranger, driven by an impulse I couldn't quite understand, a risk I didn't fully comprehend. "Wait, what are you doing?" Jacob shouted behind me, his voice trembling. I flicked a glance back, catching the hard glint of his eyes, a whirlwind of emotions wrestling underneath. But the plight of the man anchored my attention, a thread tethering my own fraying fears to the discovery that this moment held. As I reached the edge of the water, I saw Ida raw vulnerability dancing in the depths of his gaze. His expression was arresting, a mixture of relief and the remnants of terror. Another surge of waves pushed me forward, and I pushed aside the nagging warnings echoing in my brother's voice. I grasped the man's wrist, pulling him from the icy grip of the ocean. "Just hold on." With an almost frantic energy, the man kicked against the water, his strength unexpectedly fierce. Together, we fought the undertow, and as I pulled him closer to the shore, I could feel my heartbeat syncing with his struggle, rhythm matching rhythm in a primal dance. The moment we reached the sand, he collapsed onto the beach, panting heavily, both of us invigorated and drained. I looked back at Jacob, whose face was a mask of disbelief, half-heartedly watching me battle against the tides of our shared history. "It's okay," I assured him, my voice softer now. "He's safe." But I could see the doubt lacing his eyes, the protective instincts re-emerging like a tidal wave. The man took several heaving breaths, his gaze now intense as he turned to me, gratitude evident amidst his exhaustion. "Thank you," he finally rasped, struggling to push himself up on his elbows, a genuine smile beginning to bloom through the remnants of turmoil. "Can you stand?" I asked, aware of the power pooling within me at the sight of this newfound connection. As he nodded, I extended a hand, feeling the jolt of his palm pressing against Minea live wire of electric energy. In that split second, I felt something shift, the boundaries of my existence reconfiguring themselves. My brother's concern shadowed in the background, but I was entranced by this stranger, and clarity nestled into my thoughts. Maybe this was the moment I had been chasing, an exploration of love, a dance of trust in someone who had just made their own leap into life. "Let's get you to safety," I urged, coaxing him to his feet with a gentle pull. His gaze lingered on me, an understanding lighting his features, and I glimpsed the echo of my own resolve looking back, reflected in his eyes. As the seas calmed, worry dissolved from Jacob's face, replaced by confusion. "You're really just going toe-hat if he's dangerous?" he voiced, the protective instincts clawing their way to the surface again. "Not everyone is a threat," I countered, courage surging within me, a stark contrast to the weight that had anchored me to the past. "Sometimes they're just seeking connection, just like us." The man, visibly recovering, finally spoke. "My name is Eli," he said, his voice steady but tinged with emotion, a tale lying just beneath the surface. "Too didn't know what I was diving into. I just saw the pendant and wait." I interrupted, a new rush of exhilaration pouring over me, hitting me like waves. "You saw the pendant? You know what it means?" Ellis' expression shifted, intrigue lighting his gaze to life. "I have a story about that pendant," he offered, now processing the gravity of what he had just surfed through. "What do you mean?" Jacob asked, stepping closer, curiosity brimming at the edges of his protective instincts. Something had shifted. A foundational awakening emerged between us in that sandy expanse, a bridge built by the remnants of fear and hope. Eli smiled, his breath steadying as he began to share. "It's a symbol of connection, isn't it? It's said to remind us of lost ones, but it also invites us to reconnect, to find others who've been lost." The threads forming between us began to weave intricate patterns, and I found myself leaning closer, spellbound. Before the weight of his words could settle, a sharp sound broke through, exploding from the water beside us, tearing through our careful moment. My heart sank as I turned, a sense of dread wrapping itself tightly around my chest. Emerging from the unfurling waters, another figure appeared, pale skin and dark hair, shimmering like a phantom. "Eli," the figure shouted, a haunting melody in their voice. "You have to come back. They're looking for you." The world around me stilled as Eli's eyes widened, realization painting his features, and a chill enveloped the air. Life hung on the precipice of 1,000 unasked questions, and time slowed as my brother and I exchanged worried glances, not knowing if we'd opened a door to connection or thrown ourselves into a world of unfathomable struggle. In that instant, I understood that everything was about to change again, the unexpected fracture of a reality I was only beginning to comprehend. As the waves rolled in more vehemently, echoing the storms brewing within, I braced myself for the storm on the horizontal journey, veering wildly into darkness and light, leaving me wondering if I was ready to wade deeper into the chaos that awaited. Ellis' gaze darted from the apparition emerging from the surf to me and Jacob, a cascade of emotions playing out on his face: fear, doubt, and something else I couldn't quite decipher. The figure on the shore moved closer, revealing a slender silhouette, shimmering under the dimming sunlight. A chill swept through the air, mingling with the salty breeze, carrying impending revelations that struck a chord I'd never known existed. Who are you?" Ellis' voice trembled, cracking slightly, as he took a step back. The shadowed figure halted, dark eyes pooling with a haunting determination. "I am Lena." She spoke, the name rolling off her tongue like a warning. "You must come with me, Eli. They won't stop until they find you. They can't take you again." Confusion mingled with urgency, painting the air around us thick with tension. I exchanged a glance with Jacob, whose face had shifted to a mask of alarm. "What are you talking about?" he demanded, his protective instincts igniting like firecrackers. Eli took a hesitant step towards her, captivated but also terrified. "What do you mean, they?" This moment was a fractal of uncertainty, shattering the tranquility we'd just built amidst the crashing waves. Lena took a shaky breath, her eyes locking onto mine for the briefest moment, as though gauging something deeper. "You don't understand. There's more to the pendant than what you think. Eli, they want it. They think it can lead them to you." The revelations hung in the air, heavy and oppressive, dragging with them threads of fear even as hope flickered dimly in the distance. Ellis' shoulders slumped, as if the weight of recognition fell upon him like the tide, a duality warring within. The need for freedom battling against the chains of a past shrouded in mystery. "Is it true?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper, though the dread weighed heavily on my chest. "What does it mean, Eli?" His expression tightened, merging uncertainty with an underlying strength. "I don't know," he admitted, his voice wavering as he cast a glance at Lena. "But I can't let them take me again. Not again." The air crackled with an emotional undercurrent, a wild energy coursing through us, and for a fleeting moment, I felt a rush of empathy swelling within me. I stepped closer, sensing the depth of Ellis' turmoil, as if I were now entwined in both his fear and resolve. "Then let's figure it out together," I urged, wanting desperately to pull him out of the abyss. The connection we shared now sparked like a flame, and in that breath, it felt achingly undeniable. Jacob's grip on my arm tightened, a protective instinct woven in uncertainty. "We can't, this could be dangerous." "Dangerous is relative," I countered, glancing back. "What have we been doing our whole lives? Hiding? Or waiting for something to happen?" The desperation in my voice rang true even to my own ears, the weight of Jacob's worry melding with newfound determination. This was a battle for connection, tethered not just to Ellis' past, but to my own threads of yearning for belonging. Eli hesitated, turning from me to face Lena, a pulse of vulnerability shining in his gaze. "I can't stay here, Lena. They'll find me," he said quietly, a statement heavy with grief. Lena's eyes softened, but determination filled her voice as she stepped forward. "Then come with me. I'll help you," she urged, extending a hand towards him as if reaching for something more profound than just physical contact, a tether between all that was lost and the hope of what could be recovered. In that moment, a surge of conflicting emotions surged within me, a mix of fear for Ella's safety and the throbbing pulsation of my own heart's want for connection. I stepped between them, feeling the weight of choice pressing against my chest. No, I interjected, desperately wanting to protect what had sparked between us. We'll figure this out together. We can't let them take you. Ella's eyes widened slightly, the flicker of hope mingling with dread. But what if they're already here? He whispered hoarsely, glancing back at the wavy shoreline, where the shadows began to murmur ominously, the air thickening with a sense of dread. Then I won't let you face it alone. My voice resonated with conviction, surprisingly strong in the face of the chaos looming over us. We'll confront whatever it is together. Lena's gaze flickered to me, uncertainty shadowing her features. This isn't a game, whoever they are, they're relentless. The magic of that pendant transcends this realm. It's a beacon for all that you lost, Eli, she said, and my heartbeat thundered wildly, my stomach twisting with the knowledge that this was heavily woven into the fabric of my own fear. But before I could dwell on that thought, a sudden rippling erupted from the water, the swell seeming to shift into something almost sentient. In that moment, the ominous shadow materialized cluster loomed in the distance, figures emerging from the ocean's depths. Run! Jacob shouted, instinct taking over as the figures moved toward us, the waves crashing angrily around them, propelling a storm forward. Eli, I called, gripping his arm tightly. This way. Together, we stumbled over the sand, the boundary between safety and the unknown blurring into chaos. We ran, forming an alliance, Jacob, Eli, and me, three strangers bound by circumstance. Each step carrying us deeper into trepidation, yet igniting the fragments of connection we had begun to forge as we raced down the beach. Lena's voice echoed behind us, her words drenched in urgency. You have to find the truth before it finds you. With the tide lapping away our footprints behind us, I felt the burden of what lay ahead, the unknown taunting us, threatening to unravel all that we had come to understand. Each heartbeat that thrummed in my chest screamed against the impending storm, and as the shadows encroached, I wondered if it was indeed time to dive deeper. Even as the weight of revelation crushed in on USA Search, igniting a smoldering path that could lead to both salvation and devastation. The sun's last remnants retreated like ghosts behind the horizon, leaving behind a shroud of twilight that offered little comfort. Darkness enveloped the beach, pressing in on us as we scrambled over the damp sand, the salt tang of the sea mingling with the urgency of our escape. Ella's breath hitched beside me, the gravity of our predicament evident in his wide eyes, shadowed by uncertainty. Jacob stayed slightly ahead, scanning the shifting waves for dangers unseen, his instincts on high alert. Just behind me, I could hear Lena's hurried footsteps, her presence both a comfort and a reminder of the enigma that tethered Eli to a past we hardly understood. Where do we go? I panted, the rush of adrenaline fueling every movement. Can we hide somewhere? There's a cave up ahead, Lena called back, her voice steady despite the chaos. It's small, but it should be safe for a while. We veered toward the rocky outcrop that jutted from the sand, jagged and foreboding, a reminder that even within the shadows, places could exist to shelter us from prying eyes. The mouth of the cave yawned open like a dark wound, and I hesitated for just a moment, a pulse of dread winding around my heart like a vine. Eli, are you okay? The softness in my voice contrasted sharply with the urgency surrounding us. He nodded, though his expression betrayed a whirlpool of emotions: fear, confusion, and perhaps even a flicker of hope. I reached for his hand instinctively, squeezing it gently as we approached the cave. Inside, the air was cool and damp, the darkness wrapping around us while a faint buzz of the ocean echoed from beyond the rock walls. We settled in, crouched together in a cluster, the three of us glancing at one another, breaths ragged in the heavy silence. Do you think they saw us? Jacob whispered, leaning forward, his face etched with worry. Not yet, Eli replied, his voice a mere tremor. But we can't stay here for long. I could feel the tremors of fear pulsing from Eli, and yet, I couldn't help but admire his commitment. The way he grasped the reality of our situation and faced it head-on, even in such uncertainty. It drew me in, that resolute spirit. I wanted to tell him that whatever happened next, we would figure it out together. But the weight of it hummed between us, the awareness of something deeper lurking at the edges of our connection. Lena broke the silence, her gaze fixed on Eli. The pendant, you have it? Eli looked down at the necklace. Its ethereal glow dimmed in the cave's shadows, a weight heavier than mere metal. Yes, but I don't understand what it means. I never knew. A sudden surge of empathy flooded through me, swayed by the realization that this pendant was not just an object. It was a key connection to Ella's past, a tether to the forces pulling us together and tearing us apart. Eli, I murmured softly, whatever it is, well, uncover it together. He met my gaze, and there it was, that flicker of something profound simmering between us. Just then, Lena's voice cut through the moment, urgent and laced with a tremor of concern. Listen, Eli, I need you to trust me. There are people who want that pendant, people who believe it holds power beyond our understanding. They want you. They want to reclaim what you have inside of you. What do you mean? Jacob interjected, his sharp tone piercing the tension. What's inside of him? A legacy, Lena replied, her voice thick with emotion. A legacy that runs deeper than blood. It connects realms, intertwining past and present. More than anything, it connects you, Eli, to them. To the darkness that's pursuing you. A chill scuttled along the back of my neck as I absorbed her words, dark tendrils of fear reaching out to grasp my heart. Was Eli tied to a power that could possibly harm him? And what could that mean for us? Then what do I do? Ella's voice cracked, quaking under the weight of confinement from his choices and fate. How do I break free? We have to learn its secrets, Lena said, determination clear in her voice despite the trembling air. But it's not just about the pendant. We need to find who they are, the ones hunting you. They know your name, and they might know us too. Uncertainty draped heavily around us, but as I looked into Ella's eyes, I felt the garlands of hope weaving through the darkness. Well, find a way, I whispered, needing him to believe it as much as I did. Well, uncover this together. You're not alone anymore. Eli took a deep breath, seeming to draw strength from my words, but then I noticed the shift in his expression, the dawning horror that flickered in his gaze. The pendant, he murmured again, fumbling with it, feels wrong, like it's pushing back, like it knows him here. Before I could process his words, a deafening crash sounded from outside the cave, a tumultuous wave crashing violently against the rocks. It echoed through the dark, vibrating the very walls around us, and I felt that pulse of dread thump against my chest once more. Get back, Jacob hissed, pulling us deeper into the shadows. But then I saw a flash of movement just beyond the entrance, shadowed figures slipping through the dim light, closing in. The dark figure from earlier was among them, their features cloaked yet unmistakable, a specter from Ella's past. A spine-tingling chill gripped me as I gasped, my heart plummeting into the abyss. We were running out of time. Do they know we're here? My voice trembled as the implications coursed through me. I don't know, Eli whispered, the weight of his realization paralyzing him. But we can't stay. With breath hitching in unison, we realized we were facing more than just the shadows of the night. We were facing a reckoning of all that we held dear, something we had yet to fully comprehend. And as the figures advanced, the truth swirled in the depths of Ella's pendant, a tangled legacy waiting to shatter us all as the night thrummed with unfathomable tension. I grasped the pendant where it lay against his chest, the warmth of Ella's heartbeat echoing beneath my fingertips as the shadows within us seemed to collide with those rising from the depths. Would this be the moment that unveiled our mysteries, or would it seal our fates forever? The shadows whispered to us, curling around our legs like hungry tendrils, ensnaring us in a web of fear and uncertainty. With every subtle shift of the figures outside the cave, the reality of our situation crystallized. The night was both our perpetrator and protector, draping us in a darkness that felt alive with foreboding. Stay quiet, Jacob urged, his voice a low growl as he peered through the crevice at the entry, straining to catch a glimpse of the approaching figures. The fear radiating from him was palpable, igniting a fuse within me that threatened to explode. Eli, I whispered, my heart thundering like a drum against the silence. What do we do? He stared at the pendant, his fingers brushing against its surface, as if seeking answers dredged from its depths. I don't know. I can feel something growing. If they want it, it means they want me. Lena's eyes flared with determination. We need to draw them away, give us a chance to escape. This is about more than just you, Eli. They could use you to find what they've lost. They would use all of us, Jacob interjected sharply. But if we work together, Lena's voice cracked under the pressure, but her resolve crackled with an energy I couldn't ignore. We can turn the tide. A surge of hope flickered within me, igniting a spark that clashed with the dread weighing heavily on our hearts. Let's create a distraction, I suggested. Something to pull them away from here. Eli, do you think the pendant could help? Ellis' eyes widened, and for a moment, I believed he might connect with the pendant's hidden potential. Maybe no, it fits with the chaos. I can feel it. Suddenly, the shadowed figures moved closer, their voices a chorus of murmurs, dark and dissonant. We should go, Jacob hissed, his instinct to protect overshadowing everything else. With a deep inhale, Eli nodded, and together we formulated a plan. While Jacob and Lena remained hidden, Eli and I would create a diversion using the pendant. In the trembling darkness, it felt safer to rely on its unknown powers than to confront the hunters head-on. On the count of 3, Jacob said, positioning himself near the entrance, muscles taut and ready. 1, 2, 3. I thrust the pendant into the air, its faint glow igniting within the shadows like a lighthouse beam. The surge of energy it emitted was electric, a powerful hum that seemed to vibrate through the air, cutting through the darkness as if it had awakened something deep inside. Follow me, Eli shouted, leading us out of the cave, the pendant pulsing like a heartbeat as we dashed toward the rocky outcrop. The figures froze, momentarily mesmerized, their eyes fixating on the brilliant glow as if it was a moth to a flame. We sprinted into the darkness, each footfall racing against time. But just as we gained some ground, a sudden chill enveloped me. Lena's scream echoed through the air, splitting the night. She had stumbled, her ankle twisting on a jagged rock, collapsing to the ground. Lena, I cried, spinning around. Jacob was already at her side, panic flaring in his eyes as he knelt beside her. We have to go. I can't, she spluttered, her voice thick with pain. I can't walk. Let me help, Jacob urged, cradling her protectively as he gripped her waist and pulled her upright, their connection blossoming even amid chaos. But in doing so, we were still exposed, all of us caught between the edge of darkness and the cliffs of despair, vulnerability laid bare. Eli, I shouted, fear clawing at my throat. We can't leave without her. We had to make a choice, one that could alter the course of our fractured realities. I felt the weight of all that had unfolded crashing down upon us, a sharp realization that love demanded sacrifices, and sometimes, the closest ties were the ones that hurt the most. They'll hold them off, Eli declared, steeling his resolve. Get Lena out of here. No. The word escaped my lips like a plea, but still, he pressed forward, determination burning in his gaze. You have to trust me. In that moment, I felt the tether that bound us tighten, an invisible cord of trust forged in the flames of desperation. As Eli stepped into the line of danger, I turned back toward Lena and Jacob. A rush of adrenaline surged through me. Can you stand? Jacob asked, his grip still firm on Lena's shoulder. I think so. She breathed, and together, we began to move, the way forward clouded in uncertainty. But the heaviness of that moment lingered in the air, coiling around me, the realization of what was happening pulling me under dark waters. Eli stood resolutely before the encroaching shadows, a silhouette of strength, but I also sensed the frailty of his humanity. The pendant in my grasp felt alive, tinged with his desperation, and suddenly I understood its weight wasn't just the burden of power. It was the cost of protection. And then, against the chaos, a chilling screech erupted from the shadows, piercing the night. The figures had broken through, eyes glinting like predators. Ellis' body tensed, a bulwark against the peril, and I realized with a jolt it wasn't just the pendant that connected our fates, but the profound echo of our shared struggles. Run! I screamed, tears blurring my vision as Lena and Jacob hastily moved ahead, dragging each other from the dark embrace as I turned to flee. A guttural growl erupted behind me, and with a final, fleeting glance back at Eli, I felt my heart shatter at the potential loss. He was a beacon with a light I couldn't afford to extinguish. And then he shouted, "I'll find you, no matter what." The shadows swallowed Eli, a flickering flame devoured by darkness, and as I bounded forward, despair and hope collided within me, spiraling into a tempest that threatened to drown us all. The rush of the ocean mocked our flight, an eternal reminder that salvation was still lost beneath the depths. But nothing was as agonizing as the knowledge that I would carry the burden of our choices, both the pain of loss and the remnants of sacrifice waiting to reshape our destinies in the murky moors of the unknown. As we broke free into the night, I dared not wonder what awaited us just beyond the horizon and how far I had already ventured into this labyrinth of love, loss, and the search for Eli. The night was a heavy blanket, pressing on us as we fled the chaotic maelstrom of fear and uncertainty swirling behind. I felt the agonizing weight of what had just transpired. Eli, willingly stepping into the unknown, allowing darkness to envelop him to protect us. The echo of his voice, promising to find me, reverberated painfully in my mind. Every step felt desperate, the grit of sand beneath my feet grounding me as I ran alongside Jacob and Lena, urgency propelling us forward. "We can't stop," Jacob urged, his voice strained with anxiety. The pain in Lena's expression told me she was battling something far worse than a twisted ankle. She carried the torment of helplessness, of belonging to a story we were all entwined in. "Where do we go?" I gasped, turning to them. "We have to find a way to help Eli." My heart thudded wildly, torn between the urgency of the present and the fear of what we might lose if we didn't act soon. "What if they catch him?" "We need to regroup," Jacob insisted, his expression fierce and determined. "There has to be a place away from here, somewhere we can figure out what to do." Lena winced, but determination ignited in her eyes. "There's a lighthouse not far from here. It's secluded, and it's been abandoned. We can hide there for a while." The lighthouse, its jagged silhouette danced in my mind, a bastion of hope amidst the shadows. "Let's go," I urged, taking the lead, and together we pressed on, adrenaline coursing through our veins like wildfire. We reached the lighthouse in what felt like an eternity, the wind howling around us, screaming an ancient warning. The structure loomed tall against the night, a sentinel guiding ships through storms. I pushed open the creaky door, and we stepped inside, the smell of salt and dampness clinging to the air like echoes of forgotten stories. My heart raced, not only from the exertion but from the rising dread of the unknown that lay ahead. "Here," Jacob said, guiding Lena to a corner where shadows pooled around us, offering a shaky refuge. "Stay here while I gather some supplies. We need to be prepared." I nodded, watching as he disappeared into the depths of the lighthouse, while my mind whirled with worry for Eli. The weight of what had happened pressed heavily on my chest. Could we truly find him again? We had stumbled into something ancient, threads of fate tying us to each other and to Eli in ways that felt both fated and terrifying. Lena leaned against the wall, her face pale but determined. "What do you think will happen?" she whispered, her voice a trembling thread pulling at my heart. "What if they get him?" "I don't know," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "But we can't let that happen. Why do we feel so connected to him?" she murmured, searching my face for answers I was just beginning to understand. "It feels deep, almost like it was meant to be." I felt a shiver dance along my spine. "I think it is," I replied, breathing in the salty air. "This isn't just about love. It's about purpose. The pendant connects us in ways we don't fully comprehend." Her eyes flared, realization dawning. "You think it can help him?" "I don't know, but it's worth trying." Before Lena could respond, Jacob returned, a handful of supplies pulled from the remnants of the forgotten lighthouse. "We can gather food and water. It seems deserted enough that we might not be disturbed for a while." He knelt beside us, breathless but resolute. Eli stepped into the darkness willingly. "How do we get him back?" I implored, urgency tightening my voice around the edges where hope clung to despair. "We find out what he's really up against," Jacob answered. Whatever this legacy is that Lena spoke of, it connects to the pendant. We must unlock its secrets if we ever want to reach Eli. As night deepened outside, enveloping us in its inky embrace, the cavern of the lighthouse felt more like a sanctuary than a persona harbinger of light caught amid the chaos. Let's take turns resting, Jacob instructed, scanning the surroundings. They'll keep watch first. You two should sit tight. He handed me a granola bar and a bottle of water, forcing me to eat to regain some strength. Churning anxiously, I couldn't settle. I felt the pull of the pendant. It buzzed against my skin, a soft hum urging me toward discovery. Jacob, what if we try to connect with it now? Maybe it can show us something useful. Now isn't the time, he began, but I could see the uncertainty in his eyes. But what if it guides us? I pressed, desperation seeking a foothold. Reluctantly, we gathered around the pendant, its tender warmth pooling in my palm. Okay, but just for a moment. Lena and Jacob joined me, our fingers brushing along the edges of the ancient charm. I closed my eyes, focusing on Ella's face, the strength reflected in his eyes when head saved meaned the promise he had made. Please, let us find you. As I concentrated, a rush of images flooded my mind. Golden shores, the boy Eli had saved, the pendant glowing with an otherworldly light, but supplanting those images were shadows lurking just beyond the light, whispering secrets twisted and dark. A vision flashed, a glimpse of crimson eyes searching through the void, gnawing at the fabric of the world. They sought the pendant, craved its power. No, I gasped, pulling away. My heart raced with fear. Close to Eli. Jacob's eyes widened as I fumbled with the pendant, our frantic connection cutting the air sharply. What did you see? He asked urgently. Crimson eyes, I whispered back, barely holding myself together. They're after him. They can sense that he's with us. The realization settled like an iron weight. We don't have much time. Lena clenched her jaw, anger igniting her spirit. We will find a way to protect him, we have to. The resolve in her voice lent strength to my own, and I leaned into the tether connecting us. Ella's fate was now intertwined with ours, a fraying line that needed to be mended. What's our plan? I asked, voice trembling yet fierce. We'll have to split up, Jacob declared, revealing a fire within him I hadn't yet seen. Lena, you'll stay here in case Eli arrives. We can't move without knowing this place is safe. He'll go find a car, something that will get us to safety. And he'll find Eli, I said, pushing myself to follow the pulse of connection in my chest. Be safe. Jacob's words hung in the air like a promise, heavy yet unwavering. Well, meet back here, it's the only way to keep this bond alive. I locked eyes with Lena, fear tangible in each heartbeat. You'll be okay. She nodded, determination glinting in her eyes. Be careful. We're counting on you. With a final nod, I turned and fled into the darkness, propelled by the threads of purpose that anchored me to Eli and to hope. I weaved between shadows, the echoes of my thoughts swirling around me and pulling me further into the night. As I moved closer to the beach where we last saw him, trepidation clutched my gut. I called out into the void, desperately reaching for him. Eli, where are you? Silence stretched around me, the rhythmic crash of waves underscoring my solitude. But then, as if the universe was answering, I felt the pendant hum, resonating with a frequency that surged through me. I followed it, refusing to falter, until the sands of the beach came into view. Desperately scanning the shadows, I instinctively reached for the pendant, clutching it tightly in my hand. A rustle drew my attention. There he was, Eli standing alone at the shoreline, a silhouette amidst the glow of moonlight, haunted yet beautiful, grappling with enemies unseen. Eli, I shouted, my heart racing. He turned, his dark features illuminated by the moon, relief and disbelief colliding in his gaze. You came for me, the wonder dripped from his voice, laced with fear. Of course I did. We're connected. But just then, the flickering movement in the distance surged forward. Figures emerged from the waves, shadows stretching toward us, threads of night bound by their shared purpose. They're coming. Ella's voice clipped at the edges of panic. Stay close to me, I urged, clutching the pendant in front of me. Well, face them together. But the surge of shadows danced closer, frayed whispers pulling at the edges of reason. My heart raced as Eli drew nearer, and the pendant began to vibrate violently. It knows, I murmured, feeling the weight of destiny hanging heavily above us, unraveling like a tapestry with every thrum. Together, Eli said, we won't let fear take us. The figures surged forward, and with one final glance at Eli, I knew love was not mere connection. It was a force that would shape the course of every tether that had intertwined us throughout our lives. Together, we would confront what awaited us with courage carved out from our very own heartbeats. As multiple shadows lunged toward us, the pendant flared a brilliant light, enveloping us both. The cacophony that had threatened to suffocate us morphed into a kaleidoscope of colors, illuminating all I had ever felt, binding not just Eli and me but also Lena and Jacob in a dance of defiance against the darkness that swirled beneath. In that moment of beautiful clarity amid the chaos, I realized we were never going to let fear control our fate again. We would fight for each other, shaping our destiny with every choice we made together, illuminating the paths that had once been shrouded in shadows. Find me, Eli whispered as we waded forward, the brilliance of the pendant blazing bright an anchor that would guide the lost back home. And for the first time, my heart soared with clarity, ready to embrace whatever lay beyond the horizon. The love we shared, forged by trial and daring to mend the brokenness that had once tried to drown us all. And there, in that moment of revelation, I finally understood. We wouldn't just find each other. We'd rise no matter what storms sought to bring us down. We were a constellation of hope, unfurling destinies intertwined by the depths we had traversed, and the hearts we had chosen to illuminate. Through waves of shadows and shards of light, our journey had just begun, defying every storm that lay ahead. And together, we would navigate the currents of fate, facing the wild unknown with love as our greatest compass, guiding us home.